It is Fearless Friday. I am your host, NaKeitha Ross, and I'm here today with Judge Ronnisha Bowman.
Hello, everyone.
Well, she is so excited about this weekend. We've been talking before the show, and when she get done with this podcast, she is free to do whatever she likes. And as a mother, a fearless female, being extremely busy, everybody knows that moments like that are so rare, right?
Yes. Oh, my God. I have no children this weekend. My kids went to San Antonio. I don't have any work to specifically do. I probably will find myself doing a little work, but I'll be sitting in my bed and lounging around my clean house.
Yes, clean house. It's nothing like. I think sometimes we love checking into hotels because of the cleanliness. You know, the sheets are tucked perfect, the towels are hung. No, so it's nothing like going to a clean house, your own staycation.
Yes, Lord. After being in San Antonio to Orlando, then Tampa, I'm excited about sleeping in my bed.
Good. So let's dive in. Ronnisha Bowman, before being a judge, let's talk a little bit about your upbringing. Where did you grow up?
I'm from South Park.
And so which high school did you attend?
I went to school, schools all in South Park. I went to Madden Elementary, I went to Woodson Middle School, and I went to Worthing High School. So I am South Park.
Okay. So South Park is a urban neighborhood in a community, predominantly African American. And so she just letting you know she had a very humble upbringing.
I did, and I love it.
Who were your influencers, or who influenced you growing up?
My mom had me and my brother at a young age, and she kept us very close. I was also raised by my grandmother. I have a very strong family base, I think. We still today, every Sunday, go to my grandmother's house. I may go to my grandma's house 2 to 3 times out of the week. So I have a close-knit family.
So your family, your mother and your grandmother definitely had a strong influence on you. What made you pursue a career in law?
You know what? It was something that I always wanted to do, but something that I maybe didn't necessarily think that I could do. So it was like steps for me, get through high school and go to college. And when I went to college, I found out it wasn't so hard. I kind of had this illusion because I was the first person to graduate college in my family. I had this illusion that it would be very hard, and it was hard, but there were so many resources. I learned how to be resourceful, and I would see my counselors. I would see the person who kind of teaches you or helps you to stay on track with your curriculum. I would go to the library, check out the book. Sometimes when I couldn't afford a book, I found out you could check it out for the semester, and I figured out ways just to maneuver around. Once I completed, one success makes you feel capable to do another one. So once I completed undergrad, I was like, I always wanted to be a lawyer. Let me try. And so I did.
And let's talk about college in depth a little bit more. I think that is the thing about college, the illusion of it being difficult, because a lot of people don't go or don't complete it. And I don't think college is really difficult. I think college is really about being tenacious enough to get it done, or resilient enough to get it done. Because I know a lot of people who graduate from college, it's not that they're the smartest, they finish.
That's very important, being a finisher. I remember when I was 15 years old, I worked at McDonald's, and I remember thinking, this is hard. And so I was like, if I'm going to work hard, I might as well do what I want to do. And so, everything comes with a little bit of a challenge, but you have to learn how to reach out to those people who can help you get through it. And that was the same thing with law school. It was very scary to begin there. But then when I started to see, like, oh my God, you have so much support, these same people around you. You kind of you'll find a friend who you can study with, and I'm all about energy. So, I'm an undergrad made a friend who wanted to go to law school, and I couldn't have orchestrated that, but God did. He put someone in my, won't he do it? I got to kind of stay there. But he put someone in my corner who had similar goals. And I always say, today she's an attorney. We're still friends. Life kind of sets its own course. You just have to be constructive and doing what you're supposed to do at all times, which can be a challenge.
You say you met a friend in undergrad, and it kind of helped propel you to college. You have the ideal, she kind of helped you navigate through that process of the unknowns and not being fearful of, well, I don't know how to do this. So y'all kind of did it together.
Exactly.
And I always tell people that journeys are always better when you have a partner.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that. And I mean, just not the journey through college, it's the journey through life itself, the journey through starting a new business. Even if your girlfriend isn't starting a business, the fact that you have somebody to walk through that with you. And now you be like, girl, I didn't get that permit. What should I do? Just having someone to share their journey with you, even running for judge with 18 other African American women. Look at that, how that was orchestrated.
Another divine orchestration. People often ask, like, did y'all know each other? Was it a plan? Absolutely not. I mean, of course, because we're a very small legal community, African American anyway, I think I knew just about all of them, but I never had any personal relationship with them. So it was very divine orchestrated.
It wasn't like you all got to the table together and say, you know what? Next year we all gonna run. You know what I mean? It was a personal goal and just all came together at once. And don't get me wrong, not minimizing one African American woman becoming a judge, but the impact and the notoriety you guys got by being 19. You know what I mean? It
Some
was
sisterhoods developed, friendships. I mean, to me, that's one of the greatest blessings. Just to now, if I have a question, I don't have very far to go. I mean, and you know, everybody has been very helpful, black, white, and the males, the females as well. But there was something there that, you know, we kind of lean towards each other, and it does help.
And it just showed, it kind of shattered a myth that, you know, black women don't want to help each other.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It shattered that myth. It was like, no, we're going to denounce that.
Now
we're going to show you black female excellence at the highest level. I mean, that's really what it showed. And let me tell you, I don't know if you were there, but one day you guys were at Brenner's on the Bayou. It was August. And all y'all were there. I don't know if all 19, but it was a good 14 or 15 years of you guys. But you guys' energy was so good.
Wow.
I was there with another group, and you guys were, I mean, this was before election, so it wasn't like a shoe-in. You know, you guys were still working, but your camaraderie and your energy was so good. So, it was evident. It was apparent.
I would say you had 19 type A personalities in that group, but with a common purpose and knowing that we're working for something greater than ourselves, because for so long we have been disadvantaged by the justice system. I think that was like a common bond that we wanted to see change, and the initiative. So, you know, you're a entrepreneur, you know, there's a certain energy that you need around you. Otherwise, it's like, okay, this is not going to be productive to where I'm going. So it was such a great energy. I have to say that. It was.
Before becoming a judge, you were an entrepreneur.
I was.
So let's talk a little bit about that entrepreneurial life.
It keep
the good, the bad, the indifferent.
I always say my career taught me faith. When you don't know, you know, how much you're going to make this month. But, you know, for some reason, every month it seems to work itself out and God comes through. It increased my faith. It made me pray more. You know, not only am I an entrepreneur, I'm in a white male predominated field. So there wasn't a lot of camaraderie in the beginning or through this career. So it kept me very faithful. God has always, you know, just kept me. He really has.
Did you go from law school to a law practice? Did you work for a firm first, or did you go straight into being self-employed?
So my best friend graduated law school before I did. She was so excited for me. I immediately booked it to Dallas and started a practice with her.
Okay.
And so she was doing the family and the criminal, and I was doing the criminal and the personal injury. So we, you know, we're happy to be together,
right,
as attorneys.
The journey again. Look, the partnership, the journey again, the struggle. So, you know, y'all can actually stay on the phone all night. Can you believe what happened today? And you know what? Another person would understand.
Oh, my God.
Like a nurse would understand what your day was like. You know what I mean? Well, your best friend being an attorney, she really could understand the ups and downs of the job.
We literally talk on the phone every day, and I'm not a big phone person. So on the way to court, we're talking about, you know, what's to come and what you maybe should do, and on the way from, what happened at court that day. And it has been the best support that I could ever imagine. I mean, it's nothing but God, because when we were being goofy and silly in undergrad, I would have never imagined that it would have become, where she's married with 2 children. I have 3 children, and our children are the same age. And, it's very divinely orchestrated. I can't take credit for any of it. And,
Yeah,
friends
way.
grow apart,
Mm-hmm.
right? So at one point in our lives, I would say we weren't praying, but now that has become a very integral part of our friendship, where we know, like, hey, you got a problem, let's pray about it. And that's just, that's probably unique to us. I know a lot of friends don't necessarily meet at that common ground, but our friendship is not one of, gossiping about what happened to this person or what's going on a TV show. It's really one about what you're going through. Oh, let's pray about it. It helps.
A lot.
It does.
A lot.
It helps.
Best friends are important.
I love it.
Best friends are important. I always laugh at my husband because the beauty of being a girl is the fact that we are very expressive. Even though we are emotional creatures, we're very expressive and we don't mind sharing. Men really don't do that. Men really don't do that. They have this little macho thing and they don't want people to know their business.
They don't like to be vulnerable.
They don't. And so my husband, he has a best friend that's been his best friend for 30 years.
Wow.
Don't you know? I'll be like, did you tell such a no? No. And I'm laughing because I know me, when things are going crazy and chaotic in my life, I can't wait for him to leave in the morning so I can call my best friend and say, girl, let me tell you. Just to get out about you. I'm serious. I'm ready for him to get out the house because even though I can share with him, we can't dive into it the same, if that makes sense. Because again, men are not as expressive as women and they aren't as emotional as us. But you get on the phone with your girlfriend and you're like, girl, let me tell you what happened, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like a relief.
That's
Even
true.
though she doesn't have the answers. She don't have the answers a lot of time. But the fact that she's on the other line saying, you're going to be okay, we're going to get through this, just ushering you through that situation. She don't have the answers, but to know that she has your back. Mm-hmm. And she always that positive person that's going to flip that negative into a positive. That's what I love about women, and that's what I love about women friendships. Uh-huh. Because I think men don't do enough of that.
There were times when I wasn't telling my best friend everything, and so something went really bad. And then I told her, and she was like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I don't know. I think I was embarrassed. And so I got to deal with shame. And she was like, that's not an emotion that comes from God. And so I got to start really confessing everything. And I told you we're not gossipy. So what we start calling it is we're sifting through and talking through it. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, my God, I'm kind of ashamed that this isn't going, I don't want to say perfectly, but right in my life. So I'm not hiding it from you, but I'm kind of, I don't know, just shamed to talk about it. But when I started confessing it all, like this is what happened, it was just liberating. It's like I'm not bound by my imperfections. I'm not bound by those little things in my own mind. But yeah, I need it.
And not only that, you said it best. It's liberating. But she has to be an amazing friend where you can share like that and not feel judged.
Oh, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And that is that takes major growth in friendship. To know that I'm going to tell you this, and I know, because I'm thinking about best friends tend to be opposite. There are a lot of similarities. Like my best friend and I, we love eating, we love shopping, we love traveling, but we are different in our own ways. So I know already what she's going to disagree with. But even though she may disagree with it, it's like she's not denouncing me and making me feel bad about it. Because we're not going to always agree on the topic or on the subject, but it's like, you crazy, but okay.
Yes, exactly.
I get it. She's definitely the more level-headed one. So I get that you're crazy, but I'm going to support your crazy ass. I get that often.
And that's what makes you you.
Yeah, I get that often, but so it just feels good to be in a non-judgmental relationship. It's so refreshing.
If, with talking through my problems, it also became like, wow, God brought you through that. Because we can reflect back to, when something was going on and it felt like the worst thing in the world and tragedy or whatever. But then you overcome and it's like, man, you remember God did that and how we overcame that, or, something that you might have given her to pray about. Like, let's pray about this. And then, so it increases my faith to just kind of, I know no circumstance will defeat me.
Undefeated.
Yes.
Undefeated. So now that you're in your new courtroom, because it took a little time. Some people went into their courtrooms immediately.
No, well, the criminal courthouse flooded in Harvey. And people, I guess, didn't realize that we were still displaced. Wow. And we kind of still are displaced. The courthouse, the Criminal Justice Center, has not fully been renovated. And they were trying to decide whether they were, in fact, going to renovate it or tear it down and build a new building. Because this may be the 5th time that it flooded. And so, we're coming up on 2 years post-Harvey. But it had become so burdensome and inconvenient because the felony courts, I'm a misdemeanor court judge, the felony courts were sharing courtrooms with the civil judges. And the the misdemeanor courts, we were doubling up. So my same bench from 8:30 until 11 was another judge, and then 11 until about 2, it's me. But, I mean, that's very difficult. So we do now have our own courtrooms, but they're temporary.
Okay.
And they're back in the CJC. So they're renovating other floors while they put us in some temporary places. But temporary could be 2 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I'm playing it somewhat. I have a courtroom that's spacious and large. And, the other one was, it was a pretty much condemned building. But they were allowing us to take the space, and it was old, and it's much better now.
So what made you run for judge?
In Harris County, we had never had an African-American female judge. We had also never had, we hadn't in many years, in about 20 years, had any Democrats. So I won't say that I was the most hopeful in running. I, was prepared to just lose in my mind. But you always start things with the possibility that it could be great. Right. So when people tell me like, oh, this could happen wrong, this could happen wrong, this could happen wrong, I always say to myself, and it could also be great. It could also go perfectly. And people don't tend to go that route. But I was just going to try. And if I failed, then I was just going to be happy with, having tried. But God had a different plan. So for the first time in over 20 years, we, Democrats are actually sitting on the bench. And what made me run, because that was your question, I would talk on the phone with my friend every day, and he's an attorney, and we had some cases together. And he had run before for a district clerk and lost. And he was like, Ronnie, I'm running for judge. And I was like, really? I was like, okay, I thought about it, but I'm in Harris County. He lives in Fort Bend County. So then I went to my grandmother's house, and she was like, you should run for judge. I was like, Granny, I had been thinking about it, but I don't know. So I just continued inquiring about, what would be the steps to take. And I did it. And, I did not think that it would go the way that it did. But
it exceeded your expectations.
It really exceeded my expectations. I have never loved a job so much.
Really?
Oh, my God.
And you've been in this position 6 months?
Yes, June made 6 months.
6 months. So you love this job, so that means you got to win next time.
Oh, my God.
Because you can't give it up.
The pressure. Yes. I'm kind of just enjoying the first 4 years because it'll come around before you know it.
Will.
But I just feel like we're in a position there's no better person to be in power than a person who understands what it's like to be discriminated against or to not be heard or not to have a fair shake when you start out. And so, I don't look at people as cast away. I look at people as hope. And I think looking back at me, they see a little hope because they had never seen someone who looks like me on that side before. I don't take my time to be mean to anyone. I think life serves revenge itself. So if I've had people who possibly could have been held in contempt of court, I haven't taken that opportunity yet to just, feel like that's the way that would teach you what you need to learn. I think with my background, I'm pretty good for this position.
And when you say with your background, go in depth for the people who don't understand, the layers of the things you've been through, the things you've seen, the injustices. that you possibly have seen or experienced personally?
Well, I said I was from South Park, and both my parents got their GEDs, and they at a very young age got married and had children. I was always one of a different character, very ambitious. Like at a young age, I wanted to read and I wanted to think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. But most importantly, when I began practicing, I remember a time when, people would sit in jail for misdemeanors, and because you couldn't afford, I don't know, Sandra Bland couldn't afford $500 for bail, or she didn't make the bail.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had $500, you could walk away free. Well, what you would be stuck with is telling the person, look, if you take this time served today, you could get out of jail, with a conviction. And with that option, sometimes people who were not necessarily saying that they did it were willing to take a plea just to get out of custody.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
but not understanding the ramifications of accepting that plea.
Yes. And at this point, I get to admonish a person and remind them that, this conviction will stay with you forever. You'll have to explain this. And I know people who are still explaining things that they did in high school because you want to change jobs, or being kind of stuck. Well, I got this job, but I know my record might prevent me from doing something later on. And people who have resources have access to get out of jail and fight the case. And so that has changed a lot. And it feels good to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're now offering people PR bonds. So if that basically means you can get out of jail by promising to reappear,
mm-hmm.
versus charging, $10,000 bond, which might be 10%, $1,000 to get out. But with a personal bond, we can give you conditions of your bond. So a condition of your bond is you might be subject to random urinalysis. We're thinking of a more efficient court than a punishing poor court.
Because it really boiled down to classism.
A lot of it does.
It just boiled down to classism. Lower class been unable to afford it because $1,000 feel like $1 million. Because if you don't have it, you don't have it. It don't matter how many zeros it is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It feels like a lot. Where to somebody who has money, $1,000, oh, that's nothing. We can bail out. Where that has happened so much, and we're seeing it so many times. And you get this minor charge, and then next time you get in trouble, now you're second time felon, second time offender, and it looks different when it's your second time.
Or when you get pulled over, it's like, oh, they can see this conviction, so you may get treated a little bit different. It becomes cyclical and injustice to the poor, which, I'm poor. So I don't want anybody to be punished for something that they don't really have control over in that respect. We're just there to make sure that justice is performed, not to secure convictions or to, keep cases in the courtroom. We want to my ideal situation is a person never comes back to my court. I really don't ever want to see you in this capacity again. And frankly, I don't want your liberty in my hands, but it is at some times.
So what do you do out of court? Because that could be you say you love your job, but the weight of that job is a little more serious than opposed to curling hair. It's not as lighthearted.
I love curling my hair.
But so what do you do to just unwind on the weekends? What does your self-care look like?
Recently it's been binging Netflix. And
what have you seen good?
Oh my God. The murder one with Christina Applegate.
Yes, Dead to Me.
Dead to Me. Ooh, that was good.
That was a good series.
I got into Riverdale.
I haven't seen that one.
I got into Queen of the South.
Oh yeah, I love that one. The new season is up. I saw a really good movie, Always Be My Maybe.
Okay.
So watch that this weekend.
Is that with the Asian couple?
It's so funny.
I'm going to.
Yes,
okay.
It is so funny. And
the murder mystery one, I watched that one on the plane.
They are so silly.
Yes. So Jennifer Aniston is and
Ben Stiller. No, that is funny because I never really get to watch a lot of TV. And so the fact that I've been enjoying it.
I
Like
didn't either.
TV, you know, so when you get to binge watch Netflix, it's fun because you can watch a whole series in a weekend, you know. But I really don't normally have the luxury of going home every
Likewise.
Tuesday and saying it's 8 o'clock. Let me watch my favorite show, you know. So that is really like a highlight of my life when I can see good television. So even though I've been on a binge and I've seen a lot of good Netflix for the last 2 months, I'm sure it's gonna deplete now.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Because
but
I would get to the point where I was like rushing home. I wanted to go home so I can complete the series, or I'm on vacation pulling up Riverdale on the Netflix on the TV. So it's good to pull away from that. I did that during the bar. So I had to study for the bar, and people have this like really strict regimen when studying for the bar. You can't do anything. You can't, only thing you can do is study. I binge watch movies. I did Netflix series during that time, and so I hadn't done this since law studying for the bar. So right after law school was
so it's
the
been a
last.
while.
It had been a while since I binge watched Netflix, and I was like, man, why haven't I done this? And
Good
my
stuff.
staff, they'll tell me like, hey, Judge, you should watch like When They See Us. I didn't know what When They See Us was, and my clerk
Really?
said, no, I didn't. Well, I had heard of the Central Park Five,
Yes.
but I didn't know that this movie had come out, and my clerk was like, Judge, watch When They See Us. So I was like, okay. So the next day I came, she said, Judge, did you watch When They See Us? I said, you just wanted to piss me off, didn't you?
Oh, I'm so glad you saw that. So let's
Oh,
dive a little bit into
gosh.
that. That movie is basically what you just talked about.
Yeah.
That's basically what you just talked about. And Ava DuVernay did an amazing job telling that story. My husband said that the movie should have went to the movie theater. I told him it couldn't. It's no way that movie could have been condensed to 2 hours or 2.5 hours. It needed the whole 4 hours, 4.5 hours to really unwrap that story and really dive into it and really show you what happened, the interrogation, the trial.
They did a really good
They
job
did
of
the
depicting the
aftermath,
reality.
trying to find the job afterwards and like where they are now, kind of, sort of, briefly. That movie, it was mind blowing. It pulled at your heartstrings, so many different ways, so many different times. But it also was an awakening.
Yes.
When you didn't know, if you didn't know that kind of stuff was happening, now you know, and it happens often. And that's not the first story like that, and it's
Oh,
not gonna be the
no.
last story like that.
That's the scary part, is that there are so many other people who have been, disadvantaged by the system that's supposed to kind of work for us. And then to be thought of as, it was almost like, oh, just, get rid of these 4 little boys. Nobody's going to care, and we're going to look like stars. And it showed me, I was watching the closing arguments of that prosecutor, and it was TV, but they have a record. They probably could have pulled that directly from an actual record that exists. We have court reporters, so this is all possibly true statements. It was uneasing to see how she could depict him as the criminal in something that he didn't do that well. And so when you're sitting in that jury box, I mean, I've never gotten that far through jury duty, but I'm sure there's a level of, because you don't know, but there has to be a level of, you want someone to pay for something that happened that was horrible.
You know what was really, really disheartening? Speaking of the juror, so after the When They See Us episode, I watched When They See Us Now with Oprah, and I really just started diving in. I started Googling stuff. So I watched the Ken Burns documentary from 2013. Now, he actually pulled the actual attorney, the men, and a few jurors on the show. And one juror said after being in what is it called when they pull them back? Debriefing? Arraignment. What is it when they go to the back and they try to deliberation? He said he was really just tired of being in there. Literally, the man said he was tired of being in there, and he said even though some things did not match up, he didn't want a hung jury. He was ready to go home, so he went along with everybody else. We talking about lives. Do you hear what I'm saying? See, Ava didn't show that part, but the juror actually said, after being in there for so long, some things that match up, but you are willing because of your own personal comfort and convenience to say guilty and throw 4 or 5 lives away like that. That was very callous. That is so much on the line.
After a hung jury, the state has the option to retry the case. just to see they were making it like this is not about justice. This is more about politics, because people all over the world are watching to see what comes out of this case. So that's another thing with practicing law. People get and law school breeds you to be a little bit egotistical, so you won't take losing easy. It definitely breeds ego in you, or breeds fighter. I have some law school stories that are scary, but so I could see how they kind of got caught up in just wanting a conviction, and then you got the jury that, like you said, comfort and convenience, just wants to go home, willing to convict somebody. That was a horrible storm for those young men, and especially, I mean, all of them, but the one who
Corey.
like literally just went because
And for the
I didn't
most
want to
time,
leave you alone.
The hardest time.
The hardest time. Oh my God. So I admittedly cried a couple times. Like,
Oh, it was heart wrenching.
I
You
mean,
know it was.
cry, because it's like, oh my God. I literally get about 5 minutes with a person to pour something into them and to say something that hopefully never brings them back to that place or whatever. And so you always hope that you are saying the right thing to a person that could possibly change the course of their lives. Because people really don't forget that encounter with the judge. They don't. It's a low point in their lives. That's why I tell my staff, like, don't take the opportunity to kind of get smart with them or go stoop to their levels. They're going to get what's coming to them. But, hopefully here they'll just get justice.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, sharing. And what a way to close out with the new trending movie, When They See Us. I mean, it's crazy. I didn't even think about putting that together because I could talk about that for 30, 45 minutes.
I
But
have to watch the Ava DuVernay and
Oprah. You have to. You
Okay.
have to. You have to. It's
I got
so
some
good.
time.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Enjoy that this weekend. It really kind of gives you good closure of the aftermath of the
I
movie
need
and how
it.
the men really feel. But Ava just did an amazing job just talking about why she did it. How this was a movie where she really didn't even care about the reviews. She was like, like you was talking about the wins. She was like, as a, director, producer, you always worried about the reviews, the critics, the awards, what people going to say. And she just said she wanted to give true justice to the story.
And the funny thing is, that's like the best story she's done.
But how about this? She goes in and she doesn't even care about the reviews. And
she
it's
gets
trending
them.
in 190 countries. They said they never saw social media being used so well in a positive light.
And what about the person who, called for, I don't know, the death penalty again, is now our president? That's disheartening. Because, I mean, at that time, I probably would have been less than 10 years old, and I don't remember that. So, yeah, it's pretty scary to think that person.
My grandmother always said that. She was like, 'cause my grandmother remember when it happened. It was 89, so I was 11. Well, at the time I was 10, and she was like, I remember that. And she was like, look who our president is now. And he's still not recounting or being apologetic or, he's still firm on what he believes. But our president, he just loves immigrants and people that are of Irish or English descent, if that makes sense. He don't care for people of color. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
He's not one to take ownership of what he did or has done wrong. So it's not to be expected, but it was to be highlighted. And I hope that people take notice and pay attention to, what we've allowed to run this country.
For 4 years. And I hope we don't take it so lightly that we allow him to be re-elected. Yes. So thank you again, Judge Bowman, for spending your Friday with me.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your weekend and enjoy When They See Us Now. I'm
right.
NaKeitha Ross. I'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.